Okay. No idea why you see a face like that when the game is over, but whatever. So yeah, the last week's game probably would have sufficed for a regular-sized ADG episode, but the point was, I only had to capture like 2 hours of footage to give a good demonstration of how the game played, and that's kind of relevant because capturing game footage is often the longest and most difficult aspect of making these videos. Today's Ancient DOS game is Velcro Mind, and it's so simple and straightforward, I literally only captured like a half hour of game footage because that's all I needed to demonstrate how interesting and unique this game is, despite its extreme simplicity. In fact, this game is basically the DOS equivalent of a modern casual game in a sense, seeing as how the objective is incredibly simple and there's almost no depth. But the surprising fact about this game is that there actually is a subtle layer of depth to it, which may not be obvious to players and isn't revealed in the game's documentation. Because of how simple it is though, it's likely only going to appeal to people who want something you can sit down and play for just a few minutes at a time. Velcro Mind was created by Joe White, operating out of New Zealand under the business name of Jazz Software, and was released in 1995. It's technically a one-player arcade-style game, seen as the only objective is to get a high score, and only has support for VGA 320x200 256 color graphics and ad-lib audio, although the author wrote the game using a Sound Blaster card and wasn't initially certain if the sound would work on actual ad-lib hardware. Answer: yes it does. As for its current release date, the game's always been freeware, although there's not a lot of legitimate places online to get it from. Fortunately, the old standby of the RGB Classic Games website does have it available for download, thus you can easily get it from www.classicdosgames.com. Interesting fact though is that the word Velcro is trademarked by Velcro Industries, so the game's author probably would have had to change the name if the game ever saw any major success or if he wanted to sell it at any point in time. So the gameplay really is as simple as it looks. You control the spinning multicolored disc, and your goal is to catch balls and bring them to their appropriately colored hands to score points. Now there's 3 catches though, which is where the game gets its difficulty from. The first is that your controls are entirely based on inertia using the mouse. So instead of moving the mouse like a cursor to move your disc exactly where you want it to go, you move the mouse to control inertia along each axis. This is very sensitive too, so even just tiny motions of the mouse can result in large changes in your movement. The second catch is that the balls can only stick to your disc on spots which are a matching color. If a ball touches a part of your disc which is not a matching color, it destroys the ball and you lose some energy. If you run out of energy, game is over. The last catch is that the balls slow you down while you're carrying them. The more balls are stuck to your disc, the slower you move. Now, given how fast you can go with no balls stuck to you, a little bit of slowdown can actually help you to a certain extent. But too many and it's going to get really difficult to go where you want to go. Plus the instant you drop any balls off at one of the hands, you may suddenly find yourself moving much faster and may lose control for a moment as a result of that. There are a few things you can take advantage of though to help you out. Firstly, you can spin your disc either clockwise or counterclockwise using the left or right mouse buttons. This allows you to line the disc up for your current movement vector so that you can catch the balls more easily. Another thing you can take advantage of are the energy pulses which sometimes spawn in from the center of the screen. If you collect one, it adds to your current energy level. Knowing that energy always spawns from the middle while balls always spawn from the edges, staying at the middle of the screen as much as possible is often better than just traveling around aimlessly. There's one last thing you can take advantage of too, but this one's not covered in the manual, yet it helps to explain the point values of the balls. You see, the green and yellow balls are worth less points than the red and blue balls, with the blue balls being worth the most points. There's a very good reason for this, and it's because the balls don't all behave the same. Green and yellow balls simply bounce around predictably, making them easy to dodge or easy to position yourself towards for collecting. Red balls, on the other hand, are attracted to your disc and will attempt to collide with it. They're not very good at it, which is why it may take a bit of gameplay to notice this is happening. But once you're aware of this, you'll realize that one of the keys to staying alive is to prioritize dealing with the red balls. Blue balls, on the other hand, are repelled by your disc, meaning you typically won't be able to get them unless you're actively going for them. However, just like the red balls, they're not very good at altering their trajectory, and you may end up colliding with them anyways without meaning to. But because it's less likely to happen, blue balls should be your lowest priority. Yeah, they score the most points, but they take more effort to collect and are thus the least threatening to you if you're not paying attention to them. And that actually pretty much covers the game as a whole. You simply play until you lose all your energy, then see if you made the highest score or not. While it's certainly fun and has a small amount of depth, it's not going to hold your attention for more than a half hour or so at a time, if even. The funny thing is, this game actually has a lot going for it as a base, and having more features could have made it more interesting, like more ball colors, level progression which features specific colors, discs which can have 2 or 3 or more than 4 colors. There's all kinds of ways this game could have been expanded upon to make it more dynamic and interesting. Again, this isn't to say what's here is bad, but taking a simple working idea and expanding upon it is often a very good way to end up with a game that people will be willing to plop down money for. So I kind of wish the author would have taken those steps with this game. Then again, as far as I can tell, this is the only game the author ever released, as the next game they advertised when you quit this one, which is called Space Rumble, never saw the light of day. So maybe something happened which prevented more releases, or maybe life simply moved on for the author away from software development. Although this game does work with the max cycle setting, the frame rate will be more stable and you'll get less shearing effects if you set a fixed cycles count of about 14,000. Otherwise, the game runs in DOSBox without any extra configuration beyond that. Anywho, that's all for today's episode of Ancient DOS Games. Next week for episode 178, we're going to be taking a look at yet another game which kind of reminds me of the Adventures of Lolo, only much more so than God of Thunder did. Think you know of a game which would be like that, then be sure to send your guess to adg@pixelships.com and stay tuned to see just what game this turns out to be.